Here are some tips for buying and selling a puppy. Before we take a closer look, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And hit the notification bell to get more videos like this. Buying and selling a puppy can be emotional. Between the excitement and apprehension lies the clear-cut fact that both sides are deciding the fate of a living creature. A puppy contract is a physical means of mediating the transaction. But, how do you navigate all that fine print? What is a puppy contract? Dog lovers understand that owning a dog is more than just snuggles. Having a pet is a lifelong commitment to ensuring the physical and mental well-being of the animal. An ethical breeder has devoted her life to raising beautiful, healthy, and well-behaved dogs. Breeding takes a lot of devotion, following stringent practices, scheduling health checks, and making sure each puppy for sale receives love and socialization from the time of birth. An ethical buyer takes over the training, financial, and medical care to ensure the puppy lives out the remainder of her life in a loving home where she is happy. A puppy contract is a binding document between the two parties, the breeder and buyer. That makes clear the expectations of responsibility, medical, and financial obligations. With that said, no two puppy contracts are the same. The points of the contract are to be discussed between the seller and buyer to reach an agreement that makes everyone happy. Nonetheless, the overall objective of a puppy contract should be to protect the dog. Do I really need one? Before we jump into specifics, it's important to note that puppy contracts are not mandatory for a sale to take place. The need for a puppy contract is totally up to the buyer and the breeder. How can you establish a solid relationship with a breeder and settle on an agreement that means something? The trick is to do your research, and know what to ask to find a breeder with a heart of gold. Then, come up with a contract and go to your attorney for legal input to ensure your contract can be legally enforced. Here are the different types of puppy contract. There are so many kinds of contracts involved when buying a puppy. But to give you an idea, here are several examples of puppy contracts. Specific to certain expectations of dog ownership. Number 1. Puppy sales contract and agreement. This is a standard or general puppy contract between the buyer and seller. It is pertinent for any transaction, such as buying a dog for personal companionship, family, or service. Some breeders would include a puppy information when it is given to the buyer. Not only does this include relevant documents that accompany the contract, such as health clearances, references, and vital contacts, but the breeder might include leaflets with first-time pet owner tips and product samples. How to write a puppy contract. Two people shaking hands, agreeing about the contract or deal. You can always make your own contract from scratch. Or, if you want to get a thorough understanding of what can be included in one. Here is a detailed rundown of each section you could include on a standard buyer or seller puppy contract. Please note that the perfect puppy contract does not exist. You need to make an agreement suited to the needs of both parties. Section I. Start with the details of the puppy seller and buyer. The first section of the contract needs to be very clear about who the parties involved in the transaction are. In this case, it's the buyer and the seller. Contracts must be filled out with accurate and correct information. Other sellers or breeders would ask for IDs to back up the details provided, and contact person in case the buyers change their address or number. Section 2. All about the puppy. This section will cover pertinent details about the puppy being sold or bought. Here, the seller will need to list the following information, so it is clear exactly what type of puppy the buyer is getting. All puppy or dog contracts will include the canine's date of birth, breed, gender, registered and call name, color, and coat, as well as any markings or necessary description. Some would have a section asking for registrations, growth charts, whelping documents, and microchip data on the contract, or it can be attached. Pedigree and registration documentation. If the seller agrees that the puppy being bought is a purebred, not only does it need to be stated on the contract, but other documents must be provided as proof. Make sure you get a pedigree certificate in the puppy information pack. Don't forget to inquire about the parents. Your best chance of figuring out how a puppy might turn out, or what types of genetic diseases she is predestined for, is to learn as much as you can about the parents. A reputable breeder will provide a medical history and health clearances that show the puppy's bloodline has been screened and cleared of illnesses common in their breed. List this on the contract. It's also good to have a list of the parents' titles, awards, and lifetime achievements. Medical procedures, therapy and vaccinations. The puppy's health, up to the point of sale, is in the hands of the breeder. An ethical breeder will have kept up with vet checkups and vaccinations. They should list any medical attention, injections, and medications on the contract if there's any. On the contrary, sometimes a breeder will sell a puppy without having seen a vet even once. They must state that it is the buyer's responsibility to ensure medical care. Usually, if this is the case, a puppy return contract can be discussed. This is an agreement between the seller and buyer that there is a return period, where the buyer can give the puppy back to the breeder if they are not satisfied with their purchase. The puppy's training and potential shop would be included too. Was the puppy bred and reared to have a special skill set? Some pups come from a long line of champion show dogs, or are bred for service, herding or hunting. Make sure to list this in the contract. If a training course has been administered and completed, include the certification and trainer contacts in the puppy information pack. A description of the puppy's appearance is essential. Sometimes, a puppy might display rare markings, eye colors, or other distinctive characteristics. If this is a purebred, pictures and explanations need to be attached to the contract. Because sometimes, certain markings can either make a dog more valuable or be considered a flaw. Section 3. Payment details. Next, you'll want to conjure up a section that carefully outlines the total cost breakdown of buying a puppy. Make sure to list the payment method, the payment process, and if there will be an installment system with payment due dates. Section IV. The final agreement of signatures. This is probably the most crucial section of the contract. All parties need to print, sign, and date the contract to make it binding and official. Don't hesitate to reread the contract, or even note of any part of the document that you want to further discuss with the seller or buyer. 5 quick tips to keep in mind. Number 1. When purchasing a dog with a contract, don't feel overwhelmed. When signing a document or making a contract, when it comes down to it, a puppy contract is a small part of the final transaction. What matters is to ensure the well-being and happiness of a puppy, and the time for research you put into finding a reputable breeder. Number 2. On the seller side, doing business with a buyer that puts in the time, money, and dedication to meet, tour, and learn about the process says a lot as well. Number 3. Prepare yourself, be honest about your intentions, and listen to your instinct when it comes to recognizing red flags. And walk away, no matter how cute a puppy might be. Or for the breeder, how tempting the money is. Number 4. Don't put all of your faith in a contract. At the end of the day, a dog is a property and no contract can control the actions of a buyer/seller. If you meet with the person you want to do business with, and their actions are questionable, walk away. Don't pay a deposit until you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. Number 5. Be thorough in how you conduct your business. Sit down and talk about your expectations. Then, write them down together. This is your contract. Don't pay a deposit until both parties have reached an agreement. Stay true to what you expect. For example, if you are a breeder and you want to sell your puppies to a caring, dedicated owner, take the time to give detailed explanations about daily care, such as exercise, training, feeding, and medical. Use this discussion to study their reaction. Do potential owners care? Are they interested in and wanting to know more? Are they getting impatient and irritable? Use these cues to help decipher if this is the type of person you want your puppy to go home with. As a buyer or seller, it isn't uncommon to not agree with some requests listed on the contract. Be open about your feelings, and see how the other person works with you, to find a resolution you can both agree on. Remember, you don't want to put all your trust in a paper contract. You need to be smart and base a long relationship on personal compatibility. Don't take red flags lightly. If you feel uncomfortable, listen. Sure, you took the time to meet this person, and you want it to work out, but if the person seems unstable, run. There are plenty of other breeders, buyers out there. If you find this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button to stay updated on videos like this. Thanks for watching.